Well, this is Baruch Fleischman here, and this is Erev Shabbos. Today's the 29th day of Av, if you haven't noticed, and we're going to say a little shtickle Zohar here, and we'll try to keep it on. So, v'kad inan chachimin yasvein b'hachu rucha gedishu rucha iloh. So when the wise men, now we have to understand who the chachimim are, but they're really setting a pattern for ourselves. When they sit, in other words, they dwell in their homes, and the Ruach of Shabbos, which is additional, comes in, the Neshama Yisera starts coming in. He says, Bahachu Rucha Kadisha Rucha Eloah, that's coming from a very high place. It's tremendously pneumistic light. Baal the Shamash al. This is the time for couples to live together. The high Rucha Amshech Abasre, because the Ruach that comes in follows after them. The Sata, as it is coming down towards them, called Inan Nishmas and Kadishan. And what does it bring? It brings all of these holy neshamas along with it. Now, neshamas does not necessarily mean the people, but what we say, a neshama in a person, doesn't necessarily mean that. It means a penimius, a tremendous consciousness. If it is that you're so talking about the time to live together, couples to live together, then we are talking specifically about this is the time to really produce the most holy children. V'yarsin kadisha el yonim b'chai rucha. This ruach allows it to be possible for the kedusha that's coming from up above, the holy kedusha, to come down. Nishmasim kedusha, and it brings in nishmasim, which is penimius, but breeds the very, very most holy things, livinechem kedugoyos, to their children, like it should. So then it says, "Kevin dachai ruach shara al alma." So once this ruach comes, now dwells in the world. Kol ruchim bishin v'kol mektargim bishin istalakom alma. What happens is they chase away, and we'll see the language of the matok. He says they chase away all of the ruchim bishin, the evil accusers. Istalakom alma. They all leave the world, so the accusations stop. Lo ba'enach al the Torah, and person does not need to pray to be protected. Begin the Yisrael inan the Tirin, because the Jewish people are guarded. Bahachu rucha, because the Neshama and the Yisera brings that with it. V'sukkah shalom, and when we say the phrase v'sukkah shalom, priestess God fahu alayhu, it spreads out as is this ruach, so to speak, spreads out its wings on the Jewish people. V'inan netirin b'kula, and we become safeguarded from everything. Now comes a kasha. He says, and I'm going to see if it actually could move over to the next piece. I'll give it a second when we get over there. That we learn like this. Yipuk bar nashla, the law. Yipuk bar nashyichidoy, a person should not walk out by himself. Lo belel yeribil the shabza. Below Belel the Shabbos, and not on the night of Shabbos either. Not on the fourth day of Shabbos. He says he's saying that the night of the fourth day, which would be what we call Tuesday night, which is actually the beginning of Wednesday, he says that day is a dangerous time to be walking by yourself at nighttime. Boy bar nashli istamra, the person has to guard himself. So it's a kasha. V'hamarnan the Belel the Shabbos, the tirin b'nei nashim mikol mektargin the alma, below the law on the Torah, so that everything has been quieted down. There is nothing out there to attack a person. And so that's the kasha. So let's see this last one. He said, but that is the case. Lelia revivol the shabza ba'inah istam rechaminaikus. On that fourth day, a person has to be careful to guard himself from it. My time, what's the reason? Begin to chsiv this pasuk. He says, Yehi ma'oros. So he said ma'oros, and there were lights. Now the words is really lights, is really missing a vav. Me'eres kasiv, in other words, it's lashon of a curse. Choser. V'ha'ukmuhu, now they've been explained. The begin dehi chasera, because it's missing a letter. Kama chavili tehirin is kalila b'chai ma'oros. So therefore, since it's really missing a letter, and that letter really stands to a great extent for a curse, so therefore it releases all different kinds of pooled up bad things. Levatim and Ba'eros, he says these are different languages of curses. Inan begri usa de sihra. This comes with the darkness of the moon, or the limited sand of the moon. V'kuhu shalite behahu lelya. So the last one is Belelya de Shabbos, on the night of Shabbos. Came in the kuhu mizbadron. La Allah benukvah the afra. So since all of them, they run away, and they all enter into the nukva, which he's going to call, he calls the nukva de afra, the female aspect of the earth. In other words, the pit down below. The lo yachlin la shalto, and they're not able to do anything. Boy bar nashichi dohe leistamro. But a person who's by himself, walking around, has to be careful. V'su, and further, afal gav de lo yachlin la shalto. But and the reason why is that even though that they don't have any control, they can't control us, they can't do anything, they can't get in charge. That's what is chazi and the zimnim. But sometimes they could appear to a person and scare them. And so that person by himself has to guard himself. Now we could do a little bit of the matok midrash down here, and let's see what he says. I'm going to try to do the best that I can to just read the matok midrash in the interest of time. And he says like this: so now they're receiving the bounty of the neshama resera, who ruach elyon nimshach me'erik anpin. That this is a light which is coming directly from Erik Anpin, Hashora Alecha b'Shabbos, which dwells, in other words, hovers over us on Shabbos. It's all srichim l'shamish mitasim. This is the time to live together, couples to live together. Because the ruach, this ruach that dwells upon them, in other words, hovers over them, it follows after them as they go down. So it brings, the ruach brings along with it neshamos of kedusha. And they're able to inherit it or give as an inheritance of this kedusha through this ruach hakodesh. So now when he says, moving on, he says, Neshamas Kedushas Shomorishim Oson Levenechem. This is what the translator says of these holy Neshamos that are coming now at a time when there's no interference. Levenechem Koroi Bilti Tarovas Yetzahar, without a mixture of the Yetzahar. Badakia Adam Kashemeshamesh Im Ishto. So this is that when a man lives with his wife, Molid Mamash Bidemusu Katzalmo, that the children are also, I'm not sure what he means, who's the most he means, but he brings children into the world with those images and those forms. But so therefore a person, before he has the yichud and they live together, has to do tshuva. Because if he doesn't do tshuva, then the taiva becomes an aveira by him. So therefore, when the child is born, the nature of that avera will be born into the child as well. Im came b'Shabbos, therefore on Shabbos, so there you have a bounty, a tremendous bounty on Shabbos of a midah tova. So therefore, the power of that midah tova, you'll be able to stream down to that child neshama ma'olam atzilas, a neshama from a very high place, olam atzilas. A mamshek Rebbe Yitzchak devar of Amar v'od, and he says more like this. Rebbe Yitzchak continues: Kevin shezecha haruach shel kedusha the Shabbos shor la'olam. When that ruach is dwells over the world, called ruchas haraos, all of the bad spirits. We call hamaktaragim, and all the accusers, yes, haroim, who are evil, mistalchim in ha'olam. Ve'ein anat tzrichim lehispalel al shemira beberchos hashkivena, and we don't have to really pray to be guarded. Like, for example, when we say hashkivenu, the fisher Yisrael heim shmorim b'chol bechinas din, because we are guarded from all aspects of din, pachad and terror, b'koyach zechan ruach, shehi hashchina, which is, what is this ruach anyway? This ruach that dwells on it is the shchina. Poreses kanfelo aleichem. She spreads her wings on the Jewish people. V'hem shemorim b'kol pegavra. So any accident that could come around would be bad. She guards them. The l'chein ein lomer kodem tefillas arvis shall leil Shabbos v'hu rachum. So therefore we don't say v'hu rachum, that we're seeking mercy over here because we're protected. Shehi shemira mahamaziki, which is guarding us from, mazikim, they destroying angels. We don't say those words either. Which is guarding us from the din that's to the left side of Zeranpin. As our neshamas go up, at the time of sleeping, lepikadon the malchus, to become a deposit to be guarded by malchus. Because if in this prayer you're asking the Shekhinah to protect us, who pogim bezecha bekavo the Shekhinah, this is like saying maybe you don't have, so I have to ask you, maybe you don't have the power to protect us, so I want you to direct yourself to us, and this, therefore, we don't say that like that. Who pogim, because what you're doing is you're knocking the glory of the Shekhinah. Ashura imo v'shomeres asach b'Shabbos, who dwells with him, guards him on Shabbos. V'im tomer habilabados, that if you say like this, we learn like this. Shelo yatsa adam yechidi, a person should not go out by himself. Lo belel levi v'shal Shabbat v'lo belel Shabbos, not Shabbos either. V'tzara ka'ada nishmor b'chachitzayim, a person has to guard himself from outside forces. Hanimsoim, that means forces outside of kedusha. Hanimsoim on ba'olam, which are found at that time. But in the pasuk itself, or the concept itself in this Gemara in Pesachim, it says that hishver as leil Shabbos, that he's comparing the leil of Shabbos to leil Revi, shuhu homer b'toika v'chitzanim, because it's very strict, because it has so many power of the kitzanim. So leil Shabbos, mishramrim b'nei adam. Now the kasha is that the pasuk that we are learning, or the Zohar is telling us, that at that time a person is guarded from all of these accusations. So therefore we don't have to guard ourselves from that. So he says umataratz va'omer. So now he comes to answers, and he says like this: Bavarei kaku vadai. So he says that you're right. This is exactly right. Ki b'leil revi b'Shabbos, on Wednesday night, or the night of Wednesday, tzrich lehishamer mechabazikin, you have to be careful about mazikin on that night. Ma'atam, what's the reason? Because these words appear on the fourth day in the Ma'aseh Bereshis. And it says Yehi Ma'oros. Now the truth is that's how we pronounce it, but it's missing a letter. It's missing a letter Vav. Instead, it comes out to be Me'eros Kesiv Chaser, so it's written Me'eros, which is Lashon Curse. Kolomar Chaser Vav, the Matok says it's missing the Vav. Hamora al Chisara the Miyota Yureach, which is really the missing of the Vav, is to show you that the moon cycles backwards. In other words, it comes up, but then at the same time it starts to get smaller. That's its nature. Shuhu Sod Begama Shechina. Now this actually has to do with the flaw of the Shekhinah, that it doesn't shine by itself. It only can shine in cycles. The Chaverim also have explained this. Since the Shekhinah is lacking, so they're all different kinds of groups and encampments of Chitzonim, meaning malachim that can do gems, and mazikin, the meirim, ha-meirim b'teichef, his gavros hadin, that really are shining and fortified by the strength of din. Nechlala ma'eros, which is a ma'oros chaser vav. That all of that is, all of the bad things in the world are included in that curse. Ratzon lo mishum is gavrim az beyosim, mean to say that this time they gather together and they're stronger. Klalos ma'eros misorodos b'miut hayareach. So all of these different curses, they're all analogized to the limitations of the moon. So if we'll call Eilu Chitzonim Mazikim Sholtin Lachazek Belil Harvi, so all of them are in charge over there to come and get you on the fourth night. V'chein also that says az yechidi, so therefore it's really a bad idea to go out, but he says it's forbidden to go out by yourself. Kadei shelo yuzak mehem. Now this still doesn't answer the question 100%, so let's see what the Matuk Medavash wants to say about Shabbos. Why is Shabbos like the fourth day? B'leil Shabbos, he said, Kevin Shekolli Tzoyne v'Chamazikim is Pazrim Nikones Beneke v'Afar Shuhan Nukva to the Homerabba. The translation. He said that all of these Kitzonim, these damaging angels, Amazikim, they scatter, Mispazrim Nikones Beneke, and where do they go? They scatter to get as fast as they can to this phrase, Benekev ha'afar, into the whole of the earth. And then there's a special phrase in Kabbalah of this, Shuhan Nukva to the Homerabba. This is the female aspect, that is the magnetic aspect of physicality that pulls everything into badness. The Homerabba, of the deep depth. Because they can't do anything on Shabbos, so they wound up going back into their hole where they came from. The person, therefore, has to guard himself, that he shouldn't go out by himself, into a place where, a blind place where there are no other people, because they're still found, you can find them on their path back to their hole. They call it the nekev avaka. You might just run into them as they're going into their hole. And as a result of their walking, of their moving, I guess, so therefore, as they're moving along and you're moving along, they could come and they could do some damage to you. Now that's only because they're on their way back to their hole. So let's say like this, but it's Shabbos. So he says, even though that they can't even really get a hold of you and really hurt you, he says, but sometimes they can produce something that would scare a person really badly who's walking by himself. And even though they themselves can't hurt the person, but they can make him scared. So therefore a person should guard himself, that he should not go out by himself. And this is Baruch Fleischman wishing everyone a wonderful Shabbos. Kol Tov.